Hey, we get a double title. Do Christians actually worship Satan? And also, Satan was a damn fool to offer the kingdoms of this world to Christ. Now, Brother Andy Capp actually inspired all this because Andy said, Ace, what is your view on the origins of evil, and was Satan created as a man killer from his creation, or did he become evil all by himself? A few questions there, thanks. And so my reply, this got me to thinking, my reply is this. Well, I don't have a view, quote unquote, on the matter. I know that Christians glorify Satan. They infer that he was self-created, which leads them down the road to believing that there are two gods, a good one and an evil one. But for us, there's only one God, the creator of all and the redeemer of all. And there is an Old Testament verse which says something like, God's hand trembled when he created the crooked snake. And of course, Jesus said he was a man killer from the beginning. So this verse, back up in the Old Testament, that God's hand trembled when he created the crooked snake, that definitely, you can imply and infer from that Satan was crooked from the beginning. Whereas over in Christianity, they've got all this mythology that Satan was a wonderful fellow from the beginning, and somehow he just went bad. Like yogurt sitting in the refrigerator too long. He just went bad, Don't blame God. Don't blame God. He just went bad. Anyway, so on the whole, my view, quote unquote, my view, is that Satan gets way too much credit for things. As I see it, he's less than clever. He was played in the garden. God played him. He acted like a schoolyard bully with Christ in his final hours in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said, I'll give you the kingdoms of this world. Hype. Ha! As if he really runs things. Satan is just as deluded as any character in this grand play. His rule is more like F-Troop than anything from Dante's Inferno. It's more like Homer Simpson running the world than a Satan with a master brain and a master scheme. Consider the great plan at the Tower of Babel. What a disaster that was. It was like it's put on by HR. It was like he put HR in charge. You watch a movie and you fall into the storyline so deeply that your heart quickens, your pulse quickens, and you jump out of your chair when the bad guy suddenly shows up. Well, when you don't see the purpose of God, Ephesians 3:11, you'll be like Christians who get all caught up in this character of Satan and his role and his actions. God is the creator of all, good and evil. Satan is one of his creatures, and boy, ain't he doing a hell of a job. He makes us all jump out of our skins. Satan's greatest power is our blind side. HR says hop, and we better hop, or there's hell to pay. And the serpent probably really believed what he told Eve in the garden. You won't really die. He probably really believed it. Maybe he didn't know it was a lie. But on the whole, I'd say that mankind's real enemy is death, not Satan. It's death. And death met its match in the cross of Christ, and death will be the final enemy to be put away, not Satan. 1 Corinthians 15:20-28 lists 4 enemies to be abolished, finally, by the work of God on the cross of Christ, and Satan is not even in the list. The list is rulership, power, authority, and death. Number 1, rulership. Number 2, power. Number 3, authority. Number 4, death. Satan is way overrated in the big scheme of things. My next set of notes was, Satan offered to Christ the kingdoms of this world if he would just bow down and worship him. Well, just think, what a ridiculous offer. Hey, Christ, worship me and I'll give you the kingdoms of Shaka Kan and the kingdoms of the Aztecs and all the warlords throughout time. Keep in mind that all warlords, all kingdoms, all governments rule by the threat of death. And Christ came to defeat death on the cross and will finish it up at the consummation of the eons. 1 Corinthians 15:20 through 28. Death, the final enemy, will be abolished at that time. So with that thought in mind, what attraction would the kingdoms of this world hold to the King of the eons, whose rule has nothing to do with the threat of death, but instead the elimination of death? Salvation, ultimately speaking, is salvation from death. And death is the real enemy of mankind and the final enemy to be abolished, says 1 Corinthians 15:25. Quick thoughts before I return to my morning cup of coffee. And then I got a postscript. When Satan offered Christ the kingdoms of this world, think about it. What kind of damn fool would offer the firstborn of creation, the creator of the eons and the purpose of the eons, the kingdoms of the Aztecs and Shaka Kan and every other warlord who bloodied the pages of history? What a laugh. Like that's a prize. Hey, Christ, worship me and I'll give you the kingdoms of Adolf and Stalin and Mao and you'll be rich. Keep in mind that the kingdoms of man are created by bloodshed, death. And Christ came to defeat death. All human governments exist due to the threat of death if you don't comply. Christ came to defeat death. His rule is and will be something that we've never seen before. The rule by eliminating death. We have no idea all the good stuff that awaits us. Anyway, grace to you, Andy, and grace to all of the rest of you too. Thanks for putting up with me. And thanks for prodding me to jot down these notes. Amen. Grace to you.